Welcome to today's tutorial. Today, we are discussing how to amend a demand guarantee or standby letter of credit, focusing on the rules under URDG 758 and ISP 98. If you work in trade finance, understanding these amendment process is crucial for smooth transactions. So, let's get started. First, let's revisit fundamental principle. Demand guarantees are irrevocable. Once issued, their terms cannot be changed without the agreement of beneficiary. Why is this important? Because it protects the beneficiary from unilateral amendments by the guarantor that could compromise the guarantee's commercial value. Now, amendments can be initiated one of two ways. First, by the beneficiary. Beneficiary contact the applicant to request instruction for the guarantor to issue the amendment. Second, by the applicant or instructing party itself. Here, the applicant or instructing party who directly initiates a request. In either case, the guarantor only acts on the instruction of the applicant or instructing party. However, amendments without the applicant's consent could lead to legal claims against the guarantor. That's why most amendments are pre-approved by the applicant before issuance. In either case, the guarantor only acts on the instruction of the applicant or instructing party. However, amendments without the applicant's consent could lead to legal claims against the guarantor. That's why most amendments are pre-approved by the applicant before issuance. In another word, there is no legal requirement under the terms of the guarantee for the applicant or instructing party to agree to the amendment. In theory, it would be possible for the guarantor and the beneficiary to agree between themselves an amendment without seeking agreement of the applicant or instructing party. However, such a procedure might expose the guarantor to a claim by the applicant or instructing party under the terms of the application or facility agreement. In practice, most amendments will be agreed by applicant or instructing party before the amendment is issued by the guarantor. If a demand guarantee has been advised by one or more advising bank, any subsequent amendment to the guarantee should, whenever possible, be advised through that same route. That means, if the original guarantee was advised through one or more advising banks, any amendments should, whenever possible, follow the same route. This maintains consistency and ensures that all parties are informed through established communication channels. Now, let's discuss the beneficiary's role in amendments. Amendments are not binding without the beneficiary's agreement. If the beneficiary rejects an amendment, the guarantor is no longer bound by it. The beneficiary can accept or reject the amendment by notifying the guarantor or advising bank. Alternatively, they can accept it by making a presentation that complies with the amended guarantee. Alternatively, beneficiary can accept it by making a presentation that complies with the amended guarantee. Now, key rules for amendments under URDG 758. URDG 758 provides specific guidelines for amending demand guarantees. Let's summarize the key points and we will discuss them in more detail. First one, the guarantor is not obligated to issue an amendment unless previously agreed. If the guarantor cannot issue the amendment, they must inform the instructing party immediately. Second, the guarantor is bound by the amendment once it is issued, even if it is pending beneficiary's acceptance or rejection. Third one, partial acceptance is not allowed. If the beneficiary accepts only a part of the amendment, it is treated as a full rejection. Fourth one, amendments with automatic provisions are invalid, such as effective unless rejected within a certain time period kind of clauses. If a beneficiary's acceptance or rejection is notified to the advising bank must promptly inform the guarantor or next advising party. Always remember, clarity and agreement among all parties are essential in trade finance. In summary, amending a demand guarantee under URDG 758 requires careful coordination between the guarantor, applicant, and beneficiary and advising banks. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that amendments are handled effectively and fairly. Amendments to guarantees are common in trade finance, but they come with specific rules and obligations for all parties involved. Let's break it down step by step. First, what happens if a guarantor cannot or is unwilling to issue an amendment? According to Article 11E, the guarantor must notify the party that gave the instruction for the amendment without delay. Also, this ensures transparency and avoid unnecessary delays in the transaction. Next, let's talk about the role of the beneficiary in accepting amendments. An amendment is not binding on the beneficiary unless they agree to it. However, under Article 11B, the guarantor becomes irrevocably bound by the amendment the moment the amendment is issued, unless the beneficiary later rejects it. For example, if an amendment changes the expiration date of the guarantee but the beneficiary does not accept it, then the guarantor remains bound by the amendment until the rejection is communicated. Article 11C gives the beneficiary the right to reject an amendment at any time. Beneficiary can reject it until they either notify their acceptance or present document in compliance with the amended guarantee. If the beneficiary does not take action, the original guarantee terms remain valid. Now, role of advising party. So, if the advising party receives a notification from the beneficiary regarding acceptance or rejection of the amendment, it must inform the party that issued the amendment without delay. This ensures efficient communication between all parties. Partial acceptance. Here is an important rule. Partial acceptance of amendment is not allowed. Article 11E states that if a beneficiary tries to accept only a part of the amendment, it will be treated as a full rejection. This eliminates ambiguity and ensures clarity in the agreement. Lastly, Article 11F addresses provisions that attempt to make amendments automatic. For example, if an amendment includes a clause saying that it will take effect unless rejected within a certain time frame, this rule protects the beneficiary from being bound by unintended changes. To summarize, Article 11 of URDG 758 ensures clear and fair handling of amendments to guarantee, which emphasize guarantors must communicate promptly if they cannot issue an amendment. Also, it says beneficiaries have the right to accept or reject amendment. Also, it communicates partial acceptance is not allowed and automatic amendment provisions are invalid. These rules provide transparency and protect all parties involved in a guarantee. Now let's discuss about the amendments to guarantees as outlined in ISDGP. Whether you are a banker or a trade officer or just exploring the world of trade finance, this video will give a clarity to essential principles behind the amendments. So let's get started. First, let's define an amendment. According to ISDGP F78, any change made to the terms of the guarantee is considered an amendment, regardless of its title or purpose. This means whether it is a minor adjustment or a significant revision, it is legally treated as an amendment and must follow the rules governing such changes. What happened when a guarantor proposes an amendment without explicit instruction to the instructing party? Under F79, if the guarantor initiates an amendment and the beneficiary accepts it, the amendment becomes binding on the guarantor. However, this can complicate the guarantor's recourse against the instructing party. For example, if the amendment was made due to a legal requirement or to the benefit of the instructing party, this does not exempt the guarantor from potential challenges in reclaiming cost or obligation from the instructing party. Now let's discuss F80, which discuss about automatic amendments. Some guarantees include terms for automatic amendments. These are changes triggered by a specific date or event, like a reduction in the guarantee amount or an automatic extension of the validity period. In such cases, F80 clarifies that there is no need to seek the beneficiary's agreement. This provision supersedes the general rule requiring beneficiary's consent. Let's move on to the scenario of multiple simultaneous amendments. According to F81, each amendment stands as a separate entity. The beneficiary has the right to accept or reject any of these amendments in its entirety and any order they choose. For example, if 3 amendments are notified at once, the beneficiary can approve one, reject another, and take time to decide on the third. Now let's look at a demand guarantee without specific rules. If a guarantee does not clearly outline how amendments should be made, it can lead to potential issues. Here is why. Without a defined amendment procedure, questions arise about how the beneficiary can accept or reject an amendment. Additionally, provisions stating that an amendment will take effect unless rejected within a certain time frame can be problematic and may not be permissible depending on the governing law. Most importantly, the governing law of the guarantee plays a significant role. If the governing law does not provide guidance on the amendment, you need to proceed with caution. Always verify the rules and ensure that any proposed amendment align with them. Now let's move on standby letter of credit, specifically amendment under ISP 98 Rule 2.06. This rule distinguishes between two types of amendments: automatic and non-automatic. Automatic amendments occur when the standby specifically state it is subject to changes such as an increase or decrease in an available amount or an extension of an expiration date. These changes take effect without further notification or consent as outlined in the standby. However, non-automatic amendments are different. They may be issued by the issuer as needed and will be binding only when certain conditions are met, similar to the rule in URDG 758 Article 11. Let's break down what happens when a non-automatic amendment under ISP 98. Non-automatic amendments are binding to the issuer. The amendments bind to the issuer when it leaves the issuer's control. Second, beneficiary's consent. For the amendment to be binding on the beneficiary, their consent is required. This consent must be communicated explicitly to the person advising the amendment. Third, document compliance. If the beneficiary presents documents that comply with the amended terms but would not have complied under the original terms, that constitutes a consent. Fourth, rejection by default. If the beneficiary only consents to a part of the amendment, it is treated as a full rejection of the entire amendment. Now let's shift gears to ISP 98 Rule 4.11, which discusses non-documentary terms and conditions. According to this rule, any non-documentary terms or condition must be disregarded, regardless of its impact on issuer's obligation. Here is what qualifies as non-documentary. First, terms that does not require a presentation of a document for verification. Second, conditions that the issuer cannot confirm from its own record or normal operations. Examples of determination within the issuer's normal operations include the timing and method of document presentation, communications related to the standby, transaction involving issuer's account, or amounts from a published index, like interest rate. Importantly, an issuer does not have to recalculate a beneficiary's figure unless the standby specifically requires it. Before we wrap up the above mentioned cases, here are some essential tips to consider when handling amendments in guarantee and standby letter of credit. Always verify that the procedure for amendment is clearly stated in the guarantee or standby to avoid dispute if it does not follow any rules. Understand the distinction between automatic and non automatic amendments under ISP 98. Also, ensure the beneficiary's consent is clearly communicated when necessary, and remember that partial acceptance is considered a rejection. Now we will be discussing a specific topic, the amendment of the amount under URDG 758. Demand guarantee is a promise from a guarantor to pay a beneficiary upon the occurrence of a specific event. But what happens when the underlying contract changes? This is where amendments come into play. Some demand guarantees have provisions allowing for the increase or reduction of the total amount to align with the progress of the underlying contract. However, to maintain the guarantee's independent nature, it is critical that certain terms are not included. General statement like the amount payable under this guarantee shall reflect the amount payable under the underlying contract at any time is not sufficient. This type of language can undermine the guarantee's independence and create ambiguity. URTG 758 Article 7 is essential because it emphasizes that the guarantee should not have a non-documentary conditions. To preserve the guarantee's independent status, amendments need a clear mechanism for determining the amount without requiring the guarantors to investigate the underlying contract status. URDG 758 Article 13 provides a solution. It allows the amount of the guarantee to be varied on a specific dates or upon the occurrence of specific events, ensuring the guarantor can determine the value at any time. How Article 13 works in practice. Article 13 outlines that a guarantee can include terms allowing for amount to change under certain conditions. For this to be valid, the occurrence of the event must be determinable from one of the three sources. First, a document that explicitly indicates the event has occurred. Second, the guarantor's on record as defined in URDG 758 Article 2. Third, a publicly available index specified in the guarantee. Let's look at an example. Suppose the guarantee states that an increase in the amount is triggered by the presentation of a construction project progress report. The guarantor can then review this record and adjust the amount as specified. Second, guarantors on record. If the guarantee states that the amount adjusts based on a payment milestone, the guarantor can determine the amount from its own transaction record without needing to look at the contract. And for third example, let's say guarantee reference a publicly available index such as a commodity price index. The guarantor can use the index to assess the current value of the guarantee. Now, practical implications and key takeaways. To recap, here are the essential points to remember about amending the amount under URDG 758. First, ensure that the terms of the guarantee provide a clear mechanism for monitoring the exposure. Second, avoid general provisions that could compromise the guarantee's independent nature. Third, use one of the three determinable sources specified in Article 13 to adjust the amount. So that brings us to the end of this section. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helped clarify the complexities of amending under URDG 758 and ISP 98. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more trade and finance insights, and drop your questions or thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.